If you've ever felt that you spent way too much time in your music career trying to succeed, trying to build a profitable income stream, and you're wondering why you may be still stuck, in today's episode, I'm going to help you release any sense of shame or guilt or even resentment towards not having been taught how to monetize your knowledge and instead having been taught primarily how to trade your time really well, but still stay stuck. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Musicians Creating Prosperity podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Fabiana Claure. And in today's episode, I want to talk about forgiveness. I want to talk about being able to move on from having perhaps felt that you were not taught the right way to live as a musician. If you have ever felt this sense of frustration or perhaps boycott, right? Feeling like, wow, I spent all my life trying to become a great musician, trying to learn how to monetize, my expertise, how to create a livelihood as an artist, practicing hours and hours and hours. How come I was never really taught how to build a business or how to create an income? How come I was taught only to trade my time? Then this episode is hopefully going to give you a sense of how to release those feelings of resentfulness that you may have from having gone through a system that did not serve you in the way you needed it. Perhaps you invested thousands of dollars in your education and then you ended up pivoting into a different career or something that felt that you had wasted your time, your money, your attention, and that you were kind of played a wrong card. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you why letting go of that grudge, letting go of that feeling of resentfulness is the first step in healing, recovering, and pivoting into the life that you absolutely need to live. So, why is it important to release those feelings of perhaps not having been served in the way you needed, or not having been taught the what you know you needed, or perhaps having focused way too much on the craft of what you do as an artist, as a creator, as a musician, and not having been taught how to actually build a livelihood around what you do? I can certainly relate to that if you're listening, because that's like exactly how I felt as I was finishing my doctorate degree in music after having spent all of my life really studying music, developing my career, going through so many different degrees in higher education, studying in Bolivia, studying in Cuba, studying in the United States, going through multiple university programs and systems. I felt like a big part of what I needed to succeed had not been given to me, had not been part of my awareness, and had not been taught. And I remember initially feeling like, is this how I'm supposed to make a living? When I discovered that the statistics that showed the actual graduation rates of musicians who graduate with doctorate degrees versus the actual faculty openings that exists in universities, which are the traditional places where people who get doctorate degrees aspire to end up on, right? If you're going through a terminal degree like a doctorate degree or a PhD, it is not uncommon that your next definition of success consists of having a faculty position at a university, a tenure track position. And yet, as I was embarking in my research for my doctorate degree, my dissertation was called Entrepreneurial Concert Pianist. What do pianists do to perform and to create careers while also building entrepreneurship ventures? I started to research the statistics of the graduation rates of the National Associations of Schools of Music, the NASM, and then looking at the faculty openings in the music vacancy list at the College Music Society, which houses all of the faculty openings for different positions throughout the year. And as I started looking at the statistics, I realized that it was virtually impossible for doctoral degrees in music, specifically in piano at the time. It's virtually impossible for us to actually find enough opportunities to apply for each faculty opening that gets published. There's probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications for one position. And those are adding to all the people that graduated the year before and the year before and the year before. And so initially, I was actually taking a bunch of courses on how to prepare my resume, how to create a strong curriculum vita, and how to be polished as an applicant for a position. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is not going to cut it. I'm actually not going to be able to just wait to get chosen to be given a job. I'm going to have to build my business. And especially because my husband and I were both doing the same thing. We were both concert pianists. We were both graduating with our doctorate degrees in music. So we absolutely had no backup plan. That was all we were. So for two reasons, for me and for my husband, we had to come up with a way to create a livelihood, to start something new. And that's when I started taking music business courses and entrepreneurship courses, which thankfully existed at the University of Miami, which is where I was doing my doctorate degree. I could have easily been in an institution like most music institutions that don't really have any business courses for their students, right? At least in the schools of music themselves. So thankfully I was at a right environment, and I was able to start tapping into business courses and quickly learning about all the things that were involved in building a business. I mean, my husband and I taught out of our home, like so many doctoral students do. We taught out of our home private piano lessons on a one-on-one basis, but we hadn't even incorporated our business. Like, we were just sole proprietors. And that was one of the first things that I learned. Oh, it turns out we actually have to register our business. We should have a different bank account for our business. We shouldn't be mixing everything, business and personal. I mean, so many basic things that today feel incredibly obvious to me as I've been working and guiding musicians. But yet at that time, after a lifetime of having studied music, those were completely foreign concepts for me. And so I had to kind of hustle my way through learning all of those things. And eventually I ended up entering into a business plan competition in the School of Business along with my husband, and just really completely getting out of our comfort zone and just jumping into a totally different world, and pitching a business plan, and talking to investors, and just having a different type of environment and attitude towards life. It really taught me how I needed to adapt to my reality. I had no time to dwell on the unfairness or perceived unfairness or perceived disillusion, disappointment. Like, I literally realized that if I were to stay in this place of negativity, of resentment, of feeling like I had played the wrong card, and feeling like, why did I not learn about any of this up until this point? And in fact, many of my colleagues who were graduating alongside of me were not even taking any of those courses. They had no idea what was happening. They were all still thinking and of the illusion of just getting a job. I ended up hiring many of them into the music academy that my husband and I quickly founded while we were finishing our doctorate degrees. We founded our first brick and mortar business called Superior Academy of Music. And we actually hired several of our colleagues who were also graduating and thinking, now what? Hey, quick break. After working with hundreds of musicians, I noticed something fascinating. Most of us are trying to fix the wrong problems in our businesses. That's why I created this 3-minute quiz at fabianaclaure.com/quiz. It helps you cut through the noise and discover what's truly holding your music business back, not just the surface level challenges you might be focused on right now. When you're caught in the day-to-day hustle, it's nearly impossible to see the root causes limiting your growth. This quiz will help you identify your unique musician CEO profile, uncover your actual growth blocker, almost never what you think it is. Get tailored strategies based on your specific situation, and receive a clear path forward in your personalized report. Musicians who've taken it often tell me, I've been working on the wrong things for months. Give yourself the gift of clarity at fabianaclaure.com/quiz. Now, back to our conversation. And so not only did we build a safety net, if you will, for ourselves through just jumping into entrepreneurship by force, but also we helped those around us create a livelihood, an income stream. And some of our teachers stayed with us for many, many years, even decades. This was an incredible eye-opening opportunity. But the purpose of this episode is to kind of help you be able to understand why it's important that when you experience this epiphany, when you realize that you have perhaps been missing something important in your career, whether it's as a result of going through your studies, going through school, or whether it's while you're already running your business. Maybe you thought that what you needed to do all along was just grow the business you already built. Meaning, if you're teaching one-on-one lessons, you always thought the success would mean more students, more one-on-one students, filling your calendar with clients. Or if you're gigging and having lots of performances, you believed that the success was just finding more performance opportunities, finding more presenters, more venues, whatever it was that you had initially set out to achieve. And eventually, there's always going to be that breakthrough, right? That moment where you realize, wait a minute, what I thought I needed is actually not what I need anymore, right? In our case, as we were going through the doctorate degrees, we thought we just had to play the piano really, really well, and that everything else will fall into place. So we spend most of our daytime hours practicing. That's all we spent our time on, focusing on practicing. We went to competitions. We traveled around the world. We performed as soloists with orchestras. My husband and I did everything around polishing our craft, which obviously there's a value in that, but it's not enough. Now, I see so many musicians and music business owners and music educators that come to me in the same mode of like, I just need to continue building my business the way I've started it. I want more students, I want more marketing, more visibility, and I just want to get more and more of what I have. And I have to kind of break it to them is like, I'm sorry to tell you that that's actually not going to cut it. If what you want is freedom in your business, the solution is not going to be to continue trading more of your time and trying to find more and more students to fill your schedule with. Because eventually, yes, you're going to have more income, but you're not going to have any life. And I know that's not what you want. So the same thing happened to me when I realized, well, I have to stop going into these courses that are all about how to apply for a job, how to polish my resume, how to be smooth during interviews. And then instead, I had to find courses that are related to, well, how do I actually build a business plan? How do I figure out what my communication needs to be? How do I create the right business structure to actually have an actual business? What are the steps that are required to be an owner, an entrepreneur, and not just wait for someone to give me a job and a silver platter? So I had to go through this process of emotional forgiveness. I had to release that feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm just learning about this now. And it helped to have great people around me that I could kind of share my thoughts and feelings and see their responses and their reactions. And the mentors and the people that I seeked at that time would quickly snap me into perspective, right? Whenever they would hear me just complaining or thinking about, wow, I can't believe I'm just learning about this now. Where has all of this information been all of my career? I would always be redirected in a loving way to what actually matters, which is to take action. You can only do so much if you're complaining, if you're venting, if you're feeling resentful, if you're feeling wronged. Like that's only going to take you so far, which in fact is not very far at all, and will keep you in an energy of lack of ideas, lack of imagination, lack of solution, lack of problem solving skills. If you don't understand that and you kind of fall into your own stories and just become the actor in the movie instead of the director. That's how I like to say it. When you can snap out of those emotional responses or those feelings of resentment, and sometimes it's not resentment towards others, it can be resentment towards yourself. And I see that a lot. A lot of the times in the work I do with musicians, they have their own past disappointments, their own past behaviors or things that they set out to achieve and they didn't follow through for one reason or another. And in a way, they're carrying this sense of guilt for their own shortcomings, their own failures. And the worst part of that guilt and that lack of forgiveness is that it doesn't allow you to start over and to keep trying and to move into a new state of being and act from a new place and to give yourself the opportunity to maybe fail again, but to also succeed, right? When you can't let go of the mistakes that you've had in the past or that other people have made with you, perhaps you worked in a container in a community, or maybe you worked with professional mentors that didn't really fit the bill, that didn't really match your expectations, or you were not able to follow through on what you were told to do. Any feeling of like, this didn't work in the past, I do not want to give myself another chance because I failed in the past, or I'm frustrated with the way other people have treated me, and I don't know if I can trust people again, right? Which is unfortunate, but it is very, very true. And this is why I want you to listen to this podcast, hopefully, and you can feel that sincerity that I'm sharing with you. We all go through these episodes. Believe me, I went through them and I've gone through them in many stages of my career. And it's important to address forgiveness. Forgiveness is important because if you don't find a way to let go of the grudges, whether it's towards others or towards yourself, you will always be carrying extra weight in the decisions that you make towards what needs to happen next. And if you cannot let go of that and you're holding yourself almost in a prison of stagnation, then you will always feel victim. You will always feel that you have no choice, and it'll put you in an energy and position of disempowerment. And that's not what you deserve. You deserve to flourish. You deserve to thrive. You deserve to have unlimited potential, but you can only do that if you forgive yourself and you forgive others. So I hope this helps you resonate and think maybe where in your life right now are you holding on to some grudges, whether it's towards other people, even towards past failures or disappointments or mistakes that you've made. And can you forgive yourself? Can you forgive others? Can you ask yourself, if I were to start over again, if I were to give myself another chance, what would I do? Right? If I could act from a place of courage, if I could act from a place of faith, and I could let go of my past and start building my future out of the vision of what I want, what would I do? Who would I call? How would I take action? Those are such critical questions that I want to empower you to start thinking about. And let me know as you go through this process. I'd love to hear from you. There's nothing that fills me with more joy than to hearing back from everyone here. If you're enjoying this podcast, if you're getting some golden nuggets, please share this with someone that could benefit, any musician or creative entrepreneur that you believe could benefit from this. And of course, if you're able to, we'd love for you to share a testimonial, write a review, share a review in our podcast so that we can reach more people around the world and help them change their mindset, change their business practices, change their energy, and create the impact that they're here to make. I know everyone listening to this podcast, if you're here, it's not a coincidence. It's because you are called to serve at a greater level and you're trying to figure out the best way to create prosperity so that you can be of better service to those around you, to your family, to your students, to your clients, and to the rest of the world. You're here to make a difference. You're here to make impact. You just need to know how. So feel free to reach out. I look forward to hearing your takeaways. Until next time, let's prosper together.